About to start. I hope you can see and hear me well. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our today's session dedicated to the biological sciences. My name is Leila. I am a senior student of biological sciences and I am a peer advisor at Academic Advising Office. So today I'm going to be the moderator of the session and we'll talk about different fields of biology and which opportunities actually our major provides. You will learn more about different internships and other biology students' experiences. So we have very interesting guests today, and every guest will hold a short, like 15 to 20 minutes presentation. And after that, you'll have time to ask your questions. And our first speaker is Malika Vasilova. She's a second-year biology student, and as far as I know, last year she was, hi Malika, she was awarded Freshman of the Year prize, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, okay. She's very enthusiastic student, very active and young researcher. So now Malika is team leader and president of IGEM Club. And today she's going to tell us more about the IGEM and their activity. Welcome, Malika.
Okay, hello, thank you for inviting me. Hope it's going to be interesting for all of you who are here. And I guess I can share my screen and start my presentation without further ado. Okay. You should be able to see it from the beginning. I hope you see it, right?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, great. Let's talk about synthetic biology, what we do in IGEM, and how it could be useful for young biologists, chemists, or simply anyone. Basically, we have to make a short intro into what synthetic biology is, since we don't have a course dedicated to synthetic biology, or we don't cover it in our curriculum. So synthetic biology is essentially a symbiosis of biology, engineering, and IT. So you have your programming skills, you have your wet lab skills, and you should have a basic understanding of how engineering works, of how systems work and interact, and how you can manage them. And you do something amazing with this knowledge. And in the emergence of these disciplines, we have synthetic biology. And synthetic biology uses engineering tools to create and modify biological components and systems. And what we mean by that, any bacteria, any organism might have a metabolical system and processes, and using genetic engineering or putting that organism into a special kind of stress like electrofermentative impact, we can change, speed up, or induce those metabolical processes. And that's what basically synthetic biology does. We use engineering techniques, we design, we build, we test, and then we fail at testing and we design again. And that's how we employ engineering techniques and do something amazing. Yeah, synthetic biology could be anything. It could be biology, it could be informatics, engineering, mathematics, chemistry. And honestly, it's better for us in IGEM to have people from each of these major, because we can really struggle with predictive modeling. We need a lot of testing in our project. We need to know all those discrete equations, run Monte Carlo simulations and all that. Honestly, I have no idea how to do that. So it's better for me as a leader to find someone from computer science or mathematics major to do this job for me so that our project can succeed. And it's better to run some predictive models before rushing into the wet lab, because you can spend hours and hours in your laptop and not spend any resources. But if you do something bad in lab, you messed up your entire progress for a month or two and you don't have reagents anymore. And it's really bad. So it's better to have predictive models in advance. And how can we use synthetic biology? There are many fields of applying synthetic biology. Honestly, I think that it could be literally any field, but in IGEM, we kind of identify diagnostics, therapeutics, environment, food, manufacturing, and energy. Usually, new IGEM teams make projects related to manufacturing, energy, and environment because these topics are more prominent in Kazakhstan, and also because we don't have like animals to work with, and it's really hard in Kazakhstan to get access to like clinical studies and stuff like that. So the diagnostics and therapeutics become a no immediately. Uh, Synthetic biology is becoming very competitive and one of the most demanded specialties in the world. We see an emergence of companies. I mean, come on, we lived through the pandemic, and the only companies that everyone's talking about is Pfizer, is AstraZeneca, and all the others. That's where all the money adds to, because you can see synthetic biology salaries, and this number is showing an ever increasing trend, and it's not going to stop anytime soon because currently investors like usually venture investors used to invest into IT projects, and they still do because IT projects give very fast revenue. You invest into project, and within a year you already uh, get some result from that. The problem with biotech was that you invest into a biotech startup, and you get your revenue only after like 10 years because it takes years of development. It takes too much money on equipment, on running labs, on testing everything, on going through clinical studies and all of that. But with synthetic biology, we can speed these things up and produce parts to building stuff, and that's way easier, and that's what many companies are focused on. Of course, giant companies like Pfizer and IDT and Thermo Fisher, they don't really care, but Biocat, Benchling, Twist, and Ginkgo, no, not Ginkgo, Biocat, Benchling, and Twist, they were like startups, quite recent startups, and now they are considered like giants of the industry. They managed to grow so fast because they focus on synthetic biology more, and they focus on building parts. And building parts is not something that's normal, or I don't know, just something regular in biology. It's more of an engineering thing, and these companies focus on engineering aspect of biology, and that's why they succeed. And of course, it goes without saying that synthetic biologists in companies earn way more than if you just biologist with a starting salary of like 20 to 30,000 a year. Okay, now let's talk about IGEM. What we do in IGEM. IGEM is the only, not necessarily the only, but the only prestige and international genetically engineering competition, synthetic biology competition, that's directed to supporting synthetic biology startups, to conducting this competition, to work with IGEM alumni and build a network of synthetic biologists, engineers, biofounders, how they named and teams are encouraged to go beyond the bench. There is a common misconception that all we do is stay in the lab and run some experiments, but actually this is like the tiniest part of the work that we do in IGEM, because we incorporate ethics, sustainability, social justice, and education in our projects a lot, and you'll be seeing it later in my presentation, because that's what's important. Many scientists struggle with reaching their audience or making their science more visible, because for general audience, scientists just do science. They don't know what they do, and they're not interested in it, and scientists are not so eager to present it in an interesting way. That's why we have a very large gap in knowledge and in reaching our audience, and as a result, there might be very severe consequences for the society. For example, because we didn't have enough vaccine knowledge exposure to general audience, we end up having a very bad situation in Kazakhstan with vaccination. Therefore, it's really important for us to address that synthetic biology is good. We can transform bacteria so that they produce some cool stuff, so that we can get rid of pollution. And that's how you explain it in a very simple terms to a general audience, because at the end of the day, they're the one who are making decisions, since we live in democracy. And if people are against it, and I'm pretty hesitant that AKIMs would bother doing their research and making sure that SynBio is actually not bad. So if we see population outrage against GMOs or genetically engineered any organisms, then our work will simply stop, because they'll just develop a policy under which you can't do such work. So it's really, 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 really important to reach your audience and educate everyone about your work and just promote it as much as you can. We have different tracks in IGEM to choose from. Usually teams choose 3 tracks and 1 main track of their project. This year for us is first track, it's manufacturing, then environment, and new application. Yeah, but for next year, I will not be announcing a project. We're still working on ideas. We're aiming to do something with diagnostics, software, and therapeutics. So it has to be very, very interesting. And we are the only team from Central Asia. There are no teams in Kyrgyzstan, in Uzbekistan, in Ukraine, or any other countries. There are only teams from Russia, of course. Before this year, it was only 1 team, IGEM Moscow team, and this year they have 7 new teams, and that's really good. But for now, you're limited to us, and if you want to join IGEM, a new Kazakhstan is the only option that you have, basically. Nazarbayev University IGEM team has a very notable record of winning in this competition. We have 2 bronze medals, 2 gold medals, and 1 silver medal. And actually, in 2018, they won a special award for environment track. So it was an environmental project, and in each track there are special awards, and we're aiming something similar to. This year, our PI is Dr. Enrico Marsilli. He's from SEDS. He's a chemical engineer. And our secondary PI is Dr. Abina Junwa. He's focused on molecular biology and cell metabolism. And these are our members. And we only have 2 engineers, and the rest of us are biologists. And this wasn't really a smart choice. I mean, I love my team, but for the next year, our recruitment will be completely different. It will start this December, and we will try to work as companies. As companies do their recruiting strategies, we'll look for talents, we'll look for people who attend our meetings, who show interest, but also they do some prominent work. They're still 1st or 2nd year students, but they're already super active, and they have some recognizable skills that we're looking for. This year, we're working on developing a dual expression system of NAD producing and rhamnolipids producing genes, and put our mutant bacteria under electrofermentative conditions to promote the production of those rhamnolipids, so that we can use rhamnolipids in oil emulsification and proceed with remediation of crude oil. IGEM is a cycle, and it's never-ending cycle, but last year it kind of braked, and we didn't have a team in 2020, so this year we had to start from the scratch. But we learned lots of new stuff, and we're hoping to employ it next year. If you ask me, like, would I change anything from the March of this year in the development of the project, in the recruitment? Of course, I would. And the good thing about IGEM is that I can employ everything that I learned from experience of this year in the recruitment, in the project development of the next year. Here you can see IGEM calendar. All the information is available on IGEM website. And as I mentioned before, IGEM is more than a lab. We have a human practices cycle where we work with wider audience. We try to employ public engagement strategies. We work with integrated human practices. It means that we reach out to companies. For example, we reached out to Gas. They gave feedback about our project, and we work with this feedback to make our project better and consult with them again. And that's how integrated human practices work. And we work in the lab. This is me saying absolute nonsense. We didn't have good results from this plate. If you're interested, we work with benchling. You should be able to read, do, and like work with stuff like this. It's not scary. It's just plasmids. We have to identify like cloning sites and find necessary restriction enzymes and all that. And we meet up with other IGEM teams. We do other projects. They're all available on our Instagram. And also this year we had a very extensive language inclusivity project, since we are quite privileged in comparison to other Kazakhstani students, school students, and like university students. We decided to employ our privilege for the good. We gathered lots of science materials, articles, our work too, and translated it to Kazakh language so that we can increase availability of scientific materials in Kazakh language. Here is our publication in the journal ALUMNA Aizhan. This is a translation of a book of another IGEM team. We also attended several conferences in Kazakhstan, like EcoGer, and we have a bunch of other projects on Instagram as well. This is us applying for sponsorship in a program. We ended up not getting it, so we need more people who will be managing our relations with sponsors and other like investors. Today we're having inclusion talks. We talk about inclusion, of course, and diversity. We have we have 5 guest speakers, and you can ask questions about how you can make your project more inclusive, how you make your startup more inclusive. For example, we have Kunde in our campus, and it's one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most successful like social entrepreneurship projects in Kazakhstan, because it's really well executed and it's persistent throughout the years. It's been almost 5 years since Kunde opened, if I'm not mistaken, and they still work, and they work really great, and they didn't step aside from their initial like ideas and moral code, and that's really recognizable. So please make sure to visit. This is a QR code for Zoom link. And soon, on October 10th, October 12th, we'll have first international student biohackathon in Central Asia, which will be organized by Nazarbayev University IGEM team, of course. So we have a bunch of hackathons. We see ACM posting about Hackno, about NU Open, all of that. We never ever even explored the idea of biohackathon. And since we're the only biology club at Nazarbayev University, and we're the only synthetic biology organization in Central Asia, we see that it's like on our shoulders to begin initiative like that. We'll be conducting it online due to epidemiological situation, of course. We aim to bring the best of 2 worlds of natural sciences and IT in a good like, mix, in a symbiosis, to solve the challenges that are presented. They are different from like normal hackathons because it's a biohackathon. You work with biological data. You have to understand some systems, how they interact in a biological sensitive way. And That's why competition will be for teams. Teams are allowed up to 4 members from all over the world, and we expect lots of teams, like about 20 or 30 teams. And it's better to have like a programmer, a biologist, and someone who presents really well in your team. And please look out for this. Registration will open on Monday. And actually, I aim to reach out to any students who perform really well during this biohackathon to recruit them for the next year of IGEM. So, like I said before, try to engage more with IGEM projects because it's going to be more of a hunting for you rather than you begging us to get you. Like, it's better for you to attract IGEM. Recruitment will be, of course, but it's more like filling up places because we have a like target of 15 people, and I aim to like have 8 to 10 people recruited through hunting. Okay. And now you can ask your questions. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Malika. This was a great presentation. So guys, if you have any questions, you have time now to ask about IGM recruitment or synthetic biology or other biohackathon, any things you are interested in. Don't be shy. If no one has a question, maybe I could ask something. You said that this year you recruit mostly like engineers or computer science students, but what if there is a biology student with a great background in like programming or robotics? Is it possible for those students?
That would be even better because these people understand what we really want from them, because it's really hard to come up with a like bioinformatics concept or modeling concept and try to explain it to computer scientists. I know that they have the skills to do what I want them to do, but I really struggle to put it in their words. When you have a biologist who's really good at informatics and like coding, it's so much better and workflow so easy. And last year we just had a general recruitment. Usually it's about 100 to 150 applicants, and we choose 15 people among them. And we had just the generic questions like, why do you want to join IGEM? Like, why we should choose you and all that. And everybody listed their like amazing team working skills and all that. But this year is going to be different. We are going to have tracks of application. It's going to be like external affairs, then dry lab, then wet lab. And according to that, their applications will be different. For example, if you're applying to external affairs department of IGEM, then your task would be, for example, here's this company, research it and structure an email so that we can for sure get a sponsorship from them. And that's a way that we can actually detect talents, because most people have like very strong imposter syndrome and they're reluctant to type out the skills that they have, or they might not be aware of skills that they have because they never done such work and will not be quite looking at experience or their CVs. It's going to be more about how they manage to complete the task, and are they meeting the deadlines, and are they willing to dedicate a year of their life to a very time and energy consuming project. And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, okay. You also said that you were consulting on your current project with Gas. So is it a collaborative project, or it was like one-time consultant?
Currently, we're working on signing a memorandum of collaboration with Gas, but it's really hard because of bureaucracy and all the other stuff. And we had a pretty late start. We just got an approval from school to start in March, and work began at like by the end of April. So it was a large delay since we have a team already and we have a goal for next year. We'll get started in January and we have to achieve way more next year.
So now you have access to campus, so you're doing your wet labs.
Yeah, throughout the summer, not all, but like wet lab members of IGEM, they had access to labs, they worked there, they lived in dormitories, and of course, when you work in IGEM, you have certain set of privileges that other students don't,
Yes.
and you might find yourself in that situation if you apply next year, and like situation won't change with epidemiology and all that.
Okay, I have also one last question. Might be a little personal. As far as I know, you started in your first year as a lab member of another lab.
Yeah, I
That's
studied
right.
at the foundation year program, and on the second year of my foundation year program, I got acquainted with Professor Enrico Marsili, and we kept our communication like despite all these struggles with online and all this stuff. So I worked with that professor, and by the end of first year, I got proposed a contract. Now I work under the contract of research assistant. I work throughout the summer, and I work now in his lab or in biofilm laboratory.
Well, that's a really great experience for such a young researcher. And my last question would be, which tips would you give our first year students, like when they go to interview with a professor or when they're gonna apply as for a relationship or any other position, like a couple of tips?
Yeah, first of all, I know that everybody wants to be RA because they like the idea of being an RA, but did you explore what RAs do? Because it's a very tiring and not interesting job, and why would you put yourself through that? Like, if you're not really aiming to stay in academia, get your PhD, and all that, RA-ship might not be worth for you. If you're willing to work in industry, if you want to work in big biotech companies, it's better for you to intern in these companies to gain skills. Not that we don't have much biotech companies in Kazakhstan, I'm aware of that, but you can intern in consulting companies at relevant jobs and gain skills that are useful for you. Being a research assistant is not for everyone, and you should know that. You should determine for you, is it worth it? Because you're going to be spend lots of your time, like it's a typical 40-hour week job, but you'll get $100 a month for it. Like, do you want to spend your time like this, or are you willing to make more money, or are you willing to do something more impactful? So determine that. And when you decided that, yeah, that's for sure that I want to do, is first of all, research your professors. We have research.nu Yedu.kz website with all professors, their current works and what are they working on. They have ORCID website, they have Google Scholar. Read their recent couple of papers, identify their methods, what they do. Do they have lots of programming in their lab, or is it mostly like wet lab work, or do they collaborate a lot with guys from engineering? It all could be apparent through their methods in their papers and with people who they publish their papers. So make sure to look at that as well, and look at if they are publishing their students. Do they have lots of students in their lab, and are they publishing them? Are they sending them to conferences? Can you actually gain something by working with this professor? Does this professor have a good work ethic? Actually, before joining Enrico Marsili, I worked in a couple of labs at Nazarbayev University with two other professors, and with one we didn't have the same work ethic. I simply didn't like the chaos that going around. In the second one, it was more of like very good professor, very kind. I learned lots of laboratory skills, but I wouldn't have any output in form of publications or conference papers and anything like that. So for me, it's someone who's ambitious, who doesn't baby me in lab, who just gives tasks, and if I'm not sure, just consults me. and make sure that I have an option of development. I will be promoted to the conference. I will get a publication sooner or later, and that's like a path for career growth for me. And you should be able to identify these goals that you're looking for in research assistants. Don't look at research assistants like, oh, I hope that professor hires me. I really want to be a research assistant. You should have also an attitude like, this professor, I mean, do I need this professor? Do I need to work with them? Are they good? Who is also working in this field? Maybe I should look at them too. So you should be able to distinguish. Just because they're professors, it doesn't mean that they have a very good research or funding. Funding is really important too, because funding varies each year, and if you don't have enough funding, you'll not be doing much in your laboratory as well. So please note all those little things. And of course, we have Ministry of Research and Innovations, and they published RA guidebook last year, and it's available on their website, and you can ask current minister. It's a very useful document, and just make sure to read it. Someone in chat asked, could you become an RA without experience? Of course you could. Everyone starts somewhere, and I started from nowhere. I was an RA without experience, and it's really important. You can notice your professor red flags from the process of your application. Is it just you texted can I get into your lab, and he said yes, and that's a red flag, because anyone could get into their lab, and that person, your professor, doesn't really care about their research money, so that they allow a bunch of people in their lab that they're not aware of their skills or any work ethic and all that, and able to spend lots of money on collateral damage from these situations. Or he's admitting lots of people because none of them will get any output, like publications or any. That's just free labor from students. Students are happy, hey, I'm working in X professor's lab. What's your output? Are you employed? Do you have contract? Do you have any publication? Are you working on a project? If not, you're being scammed. You should be paid for your work. So don't rush to be an RA in your first year so much if you're not getting paid and professors really being shitty about you. Actually, many professors consider for RA-ship only after second year or mostly third year students. I just knew really, really well Enrico. We worked throughout the summer. We work on a paper, and I always try to learn skills that he demands in his lab, and we had this connection. It's not always like that.
Yeah, most professors wants to have students with basic laboratory skills, which means that at least you should have your modern bio 1-2 microbiology. Maybe. Yeah, that at least you should know how to hold the pipette and not to break it.
Yeah, at least you have to know how to properly wash dishes, because it's a skill as well, and that's how all of us start, by washing dishes, pipetting, and preparing media. And these are very basic fundamental lab skills that anyone in the lab should be able to acquire. And also you should have a very good aseptic technique knowledge, because you don't want to die in lab. Many professors work, they're not really fatal, but you can get into trouble if you don't work carefully. Aina is asking, if you want to gain additional background in research, what journals or magazines to read, explore, you can recommend. Sorry for reading it wrong. Okay, so there's a variety of research journals. We start with yeah, of course it's okay if it was online. We start with Nature or Science, and we go into specialized journals. There is a journal for any field of science. It could be neuroscience, it could be biotechnology. There's like a journal named Journal of Pain. It's about the physiology of pain. And it really depends on your interest, but what I would recommend is there's an app, I guess, on both iPhone and Android called Researcher, and you just identify your interested research areas. For example, it could be microbiology, molecular biology, and neuroscience, and it will generate a feed of relevant papers every day for you to read in a good journals. And that's how you can get started with research. But before that, I recommend you to identify a good review journal in your field, and they publish reviews, so it's much easier than reading like a raw primary source articles, because it's just like you get a general grasp of everything that's going on. And in Elsevier, I think, or ScienceGate, they do that quite often. You can find short research articles about, for example, mitochondria. It contains like a small description of that, and then like relevant findings. Or Wikipedia could be a good starting page as well, because they have very good references and you can explore that
Or
too.
Google Scholar. You just go to
Google
Google Scholar, type what you are interested in, and then you have like a bunch of articles, different websites where you can read. Thank you, Malika. Thank you for a great presentation and nice tips. And we wish you good luck this year with the project. We hope for another gold medal for our IGEM team. Thank you. So now our next speaker is Aizhan Razbaeva. Aizhan is an alumna of our university. After her third year, she spent a couple of months in Japan at NIG. It is one of the best genetics institutions worldwide. And every year they actually provide students an opportunity to be a part of the research team, to gain some experience. And I guess each year they invite only up to 10 students. And 2 years ago, Aizhan was one of the students. It's a really highly competitive program. So now Aizhan is doing her PhD also there. Word is yours, Aizhan. Hello, welcome.
Hello, I hope you can hear me well. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you very much, Leila, for inviting me and allowing me to share my experience. And I'm going to first share the screen. Okay. Okay, I hope it's visible. So today I'd like to, thanks. So my name is Aizhan, and I now work at NIG, which is located in Japan. So I'd like to share my research experience both as intern and current graduate student at NIG, which stands for National Institute of Genetics. So for today's menu, what we have, I'd like to first introduce myself and then go into the NIG internship program, and then the PhD program, what it has and what I'm doing currently, and then you can ask the questions. So back at Nazarbayev University, I was also majoring in biological sciences. So I also got a foundation degree. I was in the foundation program, and then 4 years of bachelor degree. And now I am studying at the joint program. So they have both master's and PhD. So this is kind of 5-year course where you are fully packed. And this is offered by the Sokyendai at NIG. And I will explain why I put those together. It's a little bit interesting system here. So as back in bachelor degree, my research experience was not that, I mean, it was enough for me. So I started with joining Ivan Vorobyov's group, and I was interested, first of all, in molecular biology. This was after my 2nd year, and we were doing some, we were looking at the cancer cell response when we when we used some microtubule inhibiting drugs. So basically, I think that the lab is still functional, and if you're interested in that, you can definitely join. And of course, this as was previously said, you definitely need some background experience, at least maybe reading the papers and knowing what the lab is doing, and also like searching what is missing part. So in their research, maybe at least try to get some idea what you would like to contribute to the lab, and then suggest it to the PI before you enter. So that might be like one of the possibilities to enter. And then maybe you will take anatomy class offered by Tursunjan Tokay. And so he was really, it was really nice of him to hold this summer internships at Shanghai Tongren Hospital that was conducted under One Road, One Belt program together with China. So at that time, we spent 1 month. That was internship in the medical school, and also Shanghai Jiaotong University. So we could have seen what the people are doing and how hospital is organized, the work in hospital. Because back then I wanted to be a medical student. So one of my interests was to become neurosurgeon. So I was really interested. So we had an opportunity to be in the neurosurgery, like together with the surgeon, just to observe from side, but to be in the surgery operation. So that was kind of interesting experience. And I don't know if it is currently held, but I think that you can refine. So this is basically my way, my path of constantly refining my interests and coming to something, the final interest. So I think that was one possible. And then of course the NIG intern program, which is held after the 3rd year. And there I joined multicellular organization laboratory of Hitoshi Sawa. He was he is an expert in the secretion of Wnt signaling pathway, and I was trying to work with some proteins that regulate this Wnt mechanism. And besides, I also tried to participate in the different forums. So there are some forums offered by the university, such as like Asian Universities Alliance, UA programs, or you can search yourself, the European Forum Altbach, for example, which is held in Austria. And those were really helpful to understand like what is going on in the field of public health that at the time I also considered as a possibility. So there are different things that you can do within the Nazarbayev University and outside. So I definitely recommend to search. And now I'd like to introduce Sokindai. So Sokindai is the graduate university for advanced studies. And this is kind of umbrella that holds different national institutes. So NIG is part of it, and it's located in Japan. So here, the 2 hours from Tokyo, you can find the Mishima City, and NIG is located here, and we are really blessed with having a beautiful view at Mount Fuji just nearby. So it's really nice. So what I was doing at NIG as an intern, so I was focusing on this Wnt signaling pathway, and we were working with C. elegans. And I was trying to answer one of the questions of how Wnt or EAGL20 proteins are secreted and localized within the project. So what we were doing, we were just trying to do some mutations with the proteins. And so the 2 proteins that are important in the function of Wnt in the secretion and transportation are MOM1 or porcupine and MIC14 and or VLS, Wintless. So I was trying to do some mutation and see how they affect the Wnt associated processes. And so by the end when I joined, the internship was on site. So there are some screening processes. So you have to go through like submitting your CV, motivation letter, recommendation letter, and there are 2 screening steps. So after that, you are admitted to the program, which lasts for 1.5 months, so 8 weeks. You work in the laboratory, but at the same time, you have free time to enjoy the life in Japan. And this is what we were doing. We were exploring Japan, hiking Mount Fuji, like doing some, knowing more about the culture. And I had the previously interest in Japan. So for me, it was really exciting. And yeah, so there are actually many things we can do. And also expanding the network. So overall, why do we need to apply for summer? What are summer schools? So they are basically like the internship, research internships. So why do we have to apply for them? So this is the first criteria why is to identify if you like research. So are you suitable? Are you a researcher, true researcher, and what you want to research? So these are like the key questions. Why? So you have to ask me maybe even before you would like to apply to a research program, summer school, and then once you apply, of course, you would like to look at the lab atmosphere and see if you have the same vision as your supervisor. So it was previously discussed with Marika that it's very crucial, and I completely agree that before you apply, you have to read a couple of papers to see what kind of logic your potential supervisor has, what kind of methods he uses, and is it like creative enough, if it somehow resonates with your interests or not. So this is very important steps you do before applying. And of course, the networking. So you don't, during summer schools, you don't interact only with your supervisor, but with the lab members, with some postdocs, current PhD students, and you can ask them their experience in the lab. And of course, it doesn't only contain, you are not contained within your lab. You can actually go to other labs and check out what other people are doing. So this was the case for me, for example. We had the lab rotation period, so where you are invited to different labs and they present their work. So at that time I was working with a different professor, but once I get into the Kubo Sensei's lab, the professor I'm currently working with, so I was literally very excited about her project, and I started reading her papers and finally decided to join her lab. So it's really not fixed. You can always modify, and you can always search for it. So the next one is, of course, you can add it to your CV. So what I did is this. So I went through 2 internships and I registered them as the course. I don't know if it is still available, but there is opportunity that the chance to register your internships as the course and get credits for it. You will not get the grade for it, but it will be basically pass or fail, but at least you can get some credits. So it's optional, you can do that. That's also helpful. And of course, you would, if you apply abroad, for internship abroad, you would explore countries, the cultures, and it's really nice experience. So how people interact outside Kazakhstan. You can look at the work ethics, the lab ethics outside the Kazakhstan, which is very valuable experience. And now how you can do that. The first step is you need to define your personal interests. Of course, you need to read papers to do that. A lot of papers, just Google them, find some of them, and maybe you can adjust your papers, like do some kind of go through the review material, and then like within that review, if something caught your interest particularly, you can go go and read that paper. And it's fine if you don't understand the paper from the first time. If you don't understand the half of it, is fine. Just you may take the time and reread the paper, come back again after some time. So it's a process. It's not something that you gain from the first from the at the blink of an eye. And then look for, so once you define your interest, look for opportunities at Nazarbayev University. So there might be some professors working in the same field, and you might be you might want to join their work. And after you gain some wet lab experience, you want maybe you might want to search for other opportunities abroad. So for this, I would recommend some websites. Just Google, and the websites such as Newpestinet, grantist.com, and victoriakazhova.com. So at that time, I would definitely recommend the last one, because you can log in and search, and you can find the Google Sheet with all the summer internships, summer schools, and they are divided for like biology major, physics major, chemistry major, and etc. So that's one opportunity. And you might want to work on your CV, motivation letter, and recommendation letter starting from now. So I would advise you to so if you take the course, you might want to establish the connection with the professor, so that later on you can request for recommendation letter from that. And take advantage of new courses. So because there are so many different and new courses being offered, and I wouldn't recommend going for the courses where you can get an easy A on, but rather the ones that might be challenging, but you will learn something from them. You will challenge yourself, you will learn something new that you didn't know, maybe you will expand your creativity, they will like echo with your interests. And then you can also put them in your CV that, for example, I took this course, and based on this course, for example, if you want to continue in developmental biology, you want to take the developmental course, and then say that you learned something from this course that sparked the interest in you. So, okay, now let's turn on to PhD experience at NIG. So I'm working in the neuroscience laboratory with Fumi Kubo-sensei, and I entered in October. Now I'm graduate D1 student, and I received the MEX scholarship. So usually you can apply. This is the MEX governmental scholarship. It's also a little bit competitive. So after you are admitted to a program, the lab, so the institution requests you to as a candidate for the MEX scholarship to the government, and then government accepts or rejects. So I was lucky enough to get the scholarship. It's really nice. And now I'm currently working on 2 projects to find out development of the neurons responsible for direction and orientation selectivity, and to find genetic markers. So what I'm doing here is the neural circuits in the brain. So this is, I'm working with the zebrafish model, and we are checking how they perceive direction and orientation. So this is basically zebrafish is as if it's in the cinema. It's watching some movies, some visual stimulation that we present, and we generate some like visual stimulus from scratch. So another thing to think about is probably you think there are courses offered now, I know, like computer science, physics, mathematics, etc., that might not be that useful, and they may be difficult, but but actually you can learn a lot from them. And for example, now we are the computational biology is like the part of many fields, and so now it's really nice to have the fundamental knowledge of computer science to code in Python. So it's really helpful. And now now I'm basically looking at the molecular markers of the direction and orientation selectivity. So what I would recommend if you're interested to join NIG, so here please visit this website, and you can learn more about the NIG intern program here. So there are many different laboratories. Some are specializing in bioinformatics, developmental biology, neurobiology, cell biology, plant biology. So there are a wide variety for all the tastes, and you may want to try this, try to find. So, and also for the first, so the internship are basically the first step towards your PhD. So this is like a demo version of your future PhD work. And so if you want to go, continue, if you like what you do during the internship, you may want to continue as the PhD student. And here also you can find the information about the admission criteria, etc. So currently at NIG, we have 5 students from Nazarbayev University, including me, and all of them received most of them received Max scholarship. And so if you have any questions, either with getting about NIG internship or PhD, you're welcome to ask. I think this is the end of my project of presentation.
Thank you, Aizhan. This is really fascinating experience, and I was surprised that there are like 5 students from NU at your institution. Yes. It's really nice.
Yes. Yeah. And I was surprised that still people are interested. So there is one student from Muson. So he graduated the biological science program. Like he got his bachelor and then he obtained his MD, but he's still interested in PhD and he chose NIG.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Like guys, you know, see how people actually start with a wide range of interests, right? With and then they narrow down, they try it. For example, as Aizhan said, she tried the neurosurgery, like she watched it, she get more to know with it. And then like she now with genetics. This is an interesting path, yeah. You cannot really know what is your passion, what you really like until you try it. Yeah.
Exactly. I would agree with that. And you need to try more. So there are a lot of opportunities inside and outside. So just go for it, I would say. And it is fine to refine your interest at certain point. If you don't like something, you can switch. There's no problem in doing that. Yes.
Yeah, if you have questions, you can ask. Regarding internship, regarding Japan, maybe.
Yes, I hope.
Do you also learn Japanese? Or you
yes,
only use English there?
So, well, that's another issue because so sometimes the language can be a barrier. So I would recommend, maybe not recommend, but if your PI speaks English well, that's definitely an advantage, because sometimes PIs may not express themselves well in English. So if you know Japanese, it's definitely an asset. But if you don't, that might be a difficulty. Yes, here I do learn Japanese. We have a Japanese course offered by NIG, and I take that. I wouldn't say that my level is really nice, but at least I can hold the basic conversation.
And regarding the other members of your research team, are they like also from various countries, or they are Japanese?
I think, okay, so that's a good point. We have a really nice international community here. So we have students from, I mean, particularly in my lab, all the students are from Japan. They're Japanese, but they had experience, for example, now from the Taiwan, we have the person who is joining, and for example, the person who studied in the US, at the bachelor in the US. So a PhD degree in the US. And generally at NIG, we have different students from, like, I don't know, the Russia is not that international, but they're from Europe, from other Asian countries, like East Asian countries, from Africa, like Central Asia, yeah, Pakistan, let's say, yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Okay,
Aizhan,
so
for the presentation. We have here two questions.
the questions, yes. So the first one is GPA important for internships and summer camps? Well, GPA is one of the important factors, I would say, because this is one of the criteria for selection, the selection, but it's not the only criteria. So if, for example, you have some experience in the wet lab, or you already have a paper, so sometimes it's possible. That's a definite, that outweighs your GPA actually. And if you're really passionate about that, and I would advise to write to professors, for example, before applying for internship, it might be useful to directly write to professor and see if they respond to your email. And because sometimes you can apply, but the lab is full, they don't need any students for different reasons. So it's basically good to know if they want a new student or not. So, and if yes, what would be your responsibilities within the lab? So you can discuss the project, your ideas. So this is really nice to do it before applying, maybe a couple of months earlier. So I know it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it.
You have here a couple of questions, but guys, can we please answer them in the end of our session, because we have another guest, like in time limit. We'll answer all the questions in the end of our session, okay, like in 15 minutes. Thank you, Aizhan. Thank you. It's really great experience. Wish you good luck with your projects and research.
Thank you very much.
Now I would like to invite our next guest. It is Zhanerke. Zhanerke is my classmate. She's also a senior student of biological sciences, and she's very intelligent student with a wide range of interests, and from art to science. In this winter and spring semester, Zhanerke spent in Moscow. She had an internship there. And now she's a lab member of Timo Burster's team here at Nazarbayev University. And Zhanerke already published an article about glioblastoma. Maybe she'll share her experience today with us and tell more about it. So Zhanerke, voice is yours. Hi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for such a nice introduction. I am sorry that I'm currently filming myself from the car. I have two group mates sitting like сбоку от меня because we're currently decided to take a trip. However, my internet connection is stable, so everything is fine, and I'm ready to present you, to share some my personal experience. Can I share the screen, please?
You should be able now.
Nope.
No?
Still.
Biklur, could you please make Zhanerke co-host? Moment.
Nope, disabled still.
Can you share now?
Nope.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay. Oh yeah, now I can.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. I honestly didn't know what kind of like format exactly it should be. but I'm going to tell you about my experience, and I have already seen some questions regarding the correlation between GPA and its importance in academic life. So I hope that you will find my experience probably motivating or just helpful, but I'm going to start by by saying that having great mentors can definitely help, of course, but honestly, you learn about how to be successful by screwing up, literally. So everyone has different experiences, especially in biology. And I want to start saying that I wasn't I'm not the top student in biology. I'm not sure about like what percentile I'm in, but I have like 2 C pluses from general chemistry. If someone also has the same problem with chemistry, you're not alone. And yes, from the first year, I was like really I was really worried about my academic career because I knew that I am going to like academia is important for me, and I want to continue it. I want to further study masters and make a PhD. And of course, having only GPA would not be enough, and I should like have some advantage in the CV. So I was like really ambitious and enthusiastic about it, and I started by knocking in the doors of every biology department professors from the first semester of my first year, and I googled like how to ask a professor to join his research lab and stuff like that. I had a lot of like refusals, like of course, because I was still a first year student. I wasn't sure about my um, how to say specific academic interests. I generally knew that I'm good in molecular biology, and I was a student who was ready to literally grab everything, and I wanted to do anything just for the sake of experience. And from the first year, I started being like a laboratory trainee at NLA, Laboratory of Bioengineering and Regenerative Medicine at Dr. Andrei Tsoy's lab. It wasn't like a contract. I wasn't participated in their research directly. I wasn't published, but I gained some experience. And I think most importantly is like networking, because um, thanks for Andrei Tsoy, he was ready to write some recommendation letters after I was trying to apply to summer schools. Um, they were not successful, I would say. After the first year, I got like zero exceptions. After the second year, the corona pandemic started, so it wasn't probably a very much successful journey at all. But as Leila said, блины — это тоже важная субстанция. So probably you will find the experience of failures and successes interesting as well. We were working at the already accepted manuscript paper. It was about molecular mechanisms of Alzheimer's disease. And what I gained there was mainly, as I said, already networking and lab experience. Then, yes, my internship in Moscow, it was at the end of second year, when I wasn't accepted to any of the summer schools because of the pandemic. A lot of them were just canceled, so I didn't even know either I'm accepted or not. So I tried to find something else, and due to corona restrictions, I knew that I should probably look for something closer to Kazakhstan. And I actively monitor social media of Russian universities. One of them is Higher School of Economics in Moscow. In Many people, they do not know that it can be connected to biology, but in fact this university has a really really strong centers in cognitive science. And if any of you is interested in neuroimaging, neuro-linguistic studies, it's like one of the best institutions to participate in, I would say, because they have a lot of um, international connections, international only. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, is my internet connection stable?
Well, we can hear, but a little like, slowly. But now it's okay, I guess.
Okay, I'm sorry for that. So, how did I find this internship? It started from me applying to summer school in applied cognitive science, because I was uh, from the first year I was trying to bring myself closer to neuroscience, and tried myself in various fields related to neuroscience, from molecular one to uh, data science in neuroscience that was closely connected to cognitive science. And I was accepted to applied cognitive science school, which was held online due to Corona. However, again, why it was important for me, because I got to know a lot of Moscovians and international professors. One of them was Center for Language and Brain, um, who also was giving a lecture on the school. And I found that they have the opportunity of internships. They have like some basic requirements listed on their website, like what basic literature you should be familiar with, what are the online courses, what are the skills they expect you to have. And I decided to write an email to their lab heads. I wrote it in Russian because I assumed that this is like more professional in Russian academia. As you may see, I wrote a long email. I didn't want to screenshot it all, but I have attached some of the certificates from the mocks they required, my CV, my transcript, literally everything. In my email, I have expressed my motivation and my educational backgrounds. And I was waiting for their answer, and it was positive. However, so yeah, you can see here that this was my office in Moscow. This was my lab mates. However, my internship in Moscow was rather studying than doing a project, because they understood that me having a strong biological background, I still lack some data science skills that are needed in that research. So they were actually very, um, how to say, they were very nice in introducing me. Like they gave me a tutor who was tutoring me and guiding me and mentoring me throughout the whole process. And I was like auditing the projects that they were doing. And what we were doing is neuroimaging. I won't go into details for the sake of time. Those are screenshots from my real work. We were studying tools of neuroimaging, and um, our projects were concerned with mapping brain areas. Yes, mapping brain areas in various people, just to see like correlations uh, and functional areas. And for that, of course, I should have learned the basics of statistics, of data analysis tools, of neuroimaging tools. Um, yep. Uh, Here are some other pictures from the same like category. Um, One of their main projects was language testing during brain awake surgeries. And this is probably where the intersection of neurobiology and linguistics come. Um, they basically map the areas, the functional areas of the brain, in order to surgeon not to remove those areas during the surgery. And in my experience, they were like connected to local how to say, hospitals in Moscow. Uh, and I was able to see the surgery myself, but it was only from the window because of the, again, pandemics. But usually they allow their interns to participate in the surgery like fully. Um, yep, they gave me a lot of background literature to read. So basically, my 3-month experience was acquiring skills and side participation in the projects. However, my affiliation with them is not ended because there is less bureaucracy, I would say, in post-USSR countries in that sense. So if you are friends with some professor, they will be ready to accept your help or your assistance in any case, even if you are like thousands kilometers distance from them, like far away from them. So I still can join and participate in publishing papers um, or even conferences or even any other projects. It depends only on your or my enthusiasm in that case. And my last case was that, yes, I'm currently also a research assistant at Laboratory of Biochemical Immunology. There is nothing interesting to say about my experience there because it was mainly literature search and publishing a manuscript. I have also written a introduction guide into immunoblastoma immunology, which basically sums up my whole experience from gathering data to like drawing illustrations and how the manuscript process it goes. Yep. So thank you so much for your attention. Here are my contact details. If you want to ask me something, I am ready to answer them.
Thank you, Zhanerke, for sharing your experience. Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask now, Zhanerke, before she leaves. Cool story, say someone in the chat. So was it really hard to find that internship in Moscow during the pandemic time? I mean, how many applications did you do before you found that one?
Actually, it was only one application and it was straightforwardly successful because uh, I didn't have a goal of finding like an internship for this particular period. What was that is that I participated in the summer school and I have met the professor whose academic profile was interesting to me, and it was something beyond that Nazarbayev University currently offers, because we are mainly focused on biochemistry, molecular biology research, and there's no like institutions or labs that work with neuroimaging. That I wanted to like to get to know more about it. So I just directly wrote her an email, and I know that they have like a little competition in their applications, um, because they have like around 20-30 applications each mm, periods, and they just accepted me because I was participating in their summer school, and I was like
But we saw the screenshot of your email. Your application was quite, I should say, it was very accurate. You mentioned all courses you have taken, for example,
yes,
linguistic
yes.
courses besides biological ones. I also saw that you inserted the certificate of Coursera or
Yes,
some
yes.
courses. Yeah, from Duke University, which is also good. Yeah.
Because it was one of their requirements. Basically, they here's a few courses on neurolinguistics we strongly recommend. So yeah, it was one of the requirements. So
So
basically, my email was, I am meeting your requirements, please accept me.
Yeah, guys, so this is also a nice tip here for you. When you apply, you should probably mention all those things, all your strengths, all your past experience that you had, even if it is just laboratory skills like PCR, I don't know, Western blot, all you can perform, you should mention it in your CV and in your application. Thank you, Zhanerke. If you have any questions for Zhanerke, you can ask now before she leaves. How did you get into NLA as a trainee?
Yes, a very good question, and that I didn't mention actually. Again, as I said, in the first year, I was knocking into all of the professors' doors, and my laboratory instructor on modern biology one, Zarina Sautbaeva, she was very supportive towards me because I was asking her about such an opportunity as well. And she basically connected me with the PhD student that connected me with Andrei Tsoi. So probably the main point that I should bring from my presentation is that you should try all the routes to the lab that not only include the formal application in summer schools, but also like emailing directly the professors and asking them personally.
So it's
And
also about
so
network and soft skills, right? So you shouldn't just stop on one professor and on just one door of the laboratory. You should like go further and look for different possibilities that you might have. You also should have some soft skills. You should know how to talk to professors, yeah, how to convince them that you really want to do it and you are able to do it. Yeah, so also important. Any other questions?
Regarding the laboratory of biochemical immunology, I also didn't mention, but it was actually the only laboratory that asked me to join them because due to my like high performance on the courses, Timo Burster emailed me directly like if you want to join my lab. So it happens to like the professor himself wants you to join the lab.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Yeah. Some of the opportunities are self-funded. Those were courses of Timo Burster, biochemistry and immunology. So I first like closed the biochemistry, then immunology, and he was like, "Wow, you got like 100% on both courses. So maybe you want to join my lab."
Yes, guys, both courses are taught by the same professor. So if you perform well, it might be a good opportunity for you. Thank you, Zhanerke. Thank you for joining us today, and we wish you a good weekend and stay safe. Bye. Guys, Malika and Aizhan are still here. If you have questions to them, you can ask now. We have 5 minutes. Still, yes. Any questions about recruitment to IGEM, synthetic biology, genetics, NIG, Japan? If not, at 2 p.m., we're going to have another session on chemistry. If you want to stay and listen to it, you can like stay, or you can join at 2 p.m. This is also nice. So you basically have seen that all of our guests had a really wide range of interests in the beginning of the path, right? And then they were looking for that thing that they're really interested in. And with time, like with practice, with different internships, they could narrow it down to like 1 or 2 specific interests. And you also have seen that in biology, you can do like many multi-sided, multidisciplinary things. Like it could be, as Zhanerke said, cognitive science and biology, linguistics and biology, programming biology. It could be pure genetics, immunology, like basically anything, right? I'm currently working as a Ray at Dr. Trifarm's laboratory. For example, it's mechanobiology, yeah, another type. There are like a lot of paths you actually can take, and it's not only in academia, yeah, it's not only about research. You can also go to industry. You can teach, yeah, don't forget our professors. You can teach biology, which is also interesting. You only should know what you really want to do in your future, and it is really now the time that you can find out. Yes, Malika, I see your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Aizhan because she successfully applied to Japanese internships, and I noticed in application process, like American and like Western programs look for different things in comparison to Japanese programs, to Korean programs. Like for me, it appeared like Western programs look more for extracurriculars, for social impact that you do, and all that what comes with it. They're looking for someone who's beyond just a scientist, who's someone who's doing a social work. Is it the same for like Japanese applications? Do they care about your extracurriculars, or all that matters is more of like something tangible in terms of your research, maybe publications, your GPA, and your research reference letters?
Hi. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Well, I would say it depends on the university. So I know that some universities might consider some extracurricular activities, like University of Tokyo and others, but the other universities, they are more relaxed on that part. So they look for if you're truly a researcher, because that's like one of the things that matter at the end of the day. If you're inspired to do something, if you can work independently, if you're driven by the research, right? So that's major criteria. And actually at NIG, the most important thing that I notice is how well you connect with PI even before you apply. So you need to establish that connection before the application.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Is this really the strong point that many students actually are not aware of, right? You can actually write to some professors, some instructors at the university you wish to apply to before your application. Yeah? You can just tick an email and that's okay. They will answer you. You should not be afraid of doing it. Yes, it's just a question. It's totally okay to write. Do you guys have other questions? If not, we will finish now because it's already 13:31. Wow, we are nice at time. Here I see a question in the chat. What advice can you give for new FIP students? As a former new FIP students, maybe you have some tips for them.
New FIP students now, especially you don't have electives, you have a bunch of time free. Spend it to explore your research interests. Like Aizhan or Leila mentioned, we are limited, or no, the last girl, she mentioned that we're limited in terms of course that we have. We don't have like extensive bioinformatics, we don't have extensive neuroscience or extensive microbiology. We're quite limited to molecular biology to the most part. So if you're looking beyond that, take online courses. edX is available, Coursera, and read lots of paper. And maybe learn programming. That's the best thing you could do as a biologist, because it's not something that you can really fit into your curriculum in the future, because you'll be busy learning chemistry and biology, and knowing programming and statistics is like the core of you being a scientist in the future. Know how to do sampling, know how to read graphs, know how to do all of that. And even if you don't have any wet lab skills, any researcher needs a good data analyst. So it could be your selling point. So if you have like numeration skills, do math, do statistics, and do programming.
Yes, in the foundation year, you have actually a bunch of time, right, to do all the things.
Yeah, I would also add up on that you might want to not only look at the professors. I mean, later on, you can also communicate to like ask PhD students or other like to ask what is lab like from their experience. So, of course, everyone's experience is different, but they can share and you can know in advance what the experience can be, potential experience can be. So yeah, like it's good that you're listening this talk. It means that you're interested. And as Malika said, try to take other courses. So basically, you're establishing your own path for for example, if it is neuroscience, you want to develop something of your own. And this is actually the hallmark of a researcher, to be an independent researcher. To basically now you will do your research by researching what you like. So this is kind of the essential point. Try to find other sources. We mentioned only some of them during this presentation. We couldn't like talk about many things, but you can keep on going and find some other like opportunities that yeah, we didn't mention.
Yes. Any other questions? By the way, guys, this recording will be posted on our YouTube channel, Academic Advising Office. You can watch or rewatch it later if you want. Once again, for those of you who want to stay for chemistry session, you can join at 2 p.m. If you have no other questions, we will finish now. Thank you, girls, again for joining us today. Thank you so much for your great presentations. We wish you a nice weekend and good luck with your researches and your projects. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.